Hey everybody, today we are going to be talking about movies that scared us as kids. And we're doing this because it is October, the month of Halloween, so it seemed only fitting. Though I will say, it's funny, when I was scanning through some of the answers you guys gave, it was like, yeah, a lot of them aren't horror movies. And then of course it occurs to me, of course, because when you're a child, you're probably not exposed to horror movies like you would be when you're an adult. So a lot of the movies are that we got our scares from as kids were different in nature, but I think that makes it also interesting in a different way. When I was a kid, though, it's really tough because it's more like what didn't scare me when I was a kid. It's very interesting just because I'm so opposite now as an adult. But as a child, I was incredibly impressionable. Obviously, we all are when we're children. But for me, I was really scared of everything. I mean, you could play me just a comedy kids show and I would, wake up terrified and going to my mom's bedroom in the middle of the night. Like if candlelight hit a face in the right way in a dark room or something, it would just haunt my nightmares as a child, even if it wasn't intended to be scary. So I would watch, stuff like Barney, Thomas the Tank Engine, the Berenstain Bears, and all of these legitimately I had nightmares from and would run into my parents' room at night because I was so scared. And I think because of that, I avoided a lot of horror movies for a long time just because I think I was anticipating that they would be so scary. But, the older that I got, I'm not sure why this is, but obviously I started getting really obsessed with film and trying to understand the manipulative tactics. Now, I don't know if that's more a method of control psychologically, but who knows? I mean, it could just be something that I really enjoy and gravitate towards. But these days, it's near impossible for things to scare me for obvious reasons. I watch too many movies. I analyze them too much. It's tough. Not to say that things can't emotionally resonate with me. They certainly can. It's just maybe more rare for me to be afraid. If something is going to scare me, it would have to be something like really, really well done body horror. Stuff where it's like something is under the skin and it's just that kind of stuff can kind of be unsettling to me, I think. And that's another, lack of control sort of thing. But it's rooted in the flesh in a way that does feel, obviously very human and very, I guess, immediate to me. When I was maybe 12, 13, I think that was the first time I ever saw a horror movie that really, really freaked me out. And that would be The Ring, which I think, when did that come out? Like 2001, 2002. So yeah, I saw it around that time. And yeah, it was just the most terrifying thing I had ever seen. And I remember so many different kids my age felt the exact same way. I recall watching that like at a friend's birthday party. And as we were watching it, one of the girls' nose started bleeding. And of course, if you know the 7 days watching the tape in The Ring, one of those symptoms is a nosebleed. So that freaked us out. Yeah, it's mainly stuff like that. And it just kind of tapers off more and more as I get older to the point where I'm at now. But some of your answers, the first one, the original Spider-Man for sure. Dafoe as Green Goblin was top-tier casting. And of course, with Sam Raimi's direction, there was going to be some horror influence. But nothing could prepare 4-year-old me for how terrified I was when Willem turned into a crazy lunatic. His eyes alone made me have to slip behind the couch whenever he would show up. Oh God, 4 years old. So I can fully 100% understand that. When you first said Spider-Man, I was like, But, it makes sense. You were 4 years old. When I saw that movie, I think I was 11 years old. 2001, 11, yeah, so that would have been around the time. And yeah, I always saw it just as really campy, and I saw the comedy aspects of it. Obviously, when you have Sam Raimi, there's going to be a lot of that cartoonishness, that fun kind of lightness to it, but also, obviously that horror influence, as you mentioned. But yeah, I really thought that Willem Dafoe was having fun with that role. It felt very like Jekyll and Hyde. He's such an extraordinary actor. He has such an extraordinary face, and he's really willing to push to areas that I think a lot of actors are afraid to go in. And he certainly did it here. And yeah, obviously, the Green Goblin is fantastic. I don't know. When I was a kid, though, I never really bought into Willem Dafoe. I always thought he was kind of cheesy. Now, as an adult, I absolutely love him because, again, I think it totally fits in with that kind of cheesy, campy, cartoony quality that they were going for. I watched Eraserhead at the age of 13 at 2 a.m. on my old PC on YouTube, of all places. When the film ended, I felt like I had entered into a nightmarish landscape unlike any other place in existence. I didn't exactly return to a reality at the end of the film. I don't know where I went, to be honest, but my viewpoint on life and cinema itself changed after that experience. It horrified me. Sent into a trance-like state, made me laugh, and it made me disturbed. It is now my favorite film. Wow. I'm almost, no, actually, I am jealous of you. If I got to see something like Eraserhead at 13, that would have blown my mind. And Yeah, so that's awesome. And I think that was the perfect setting. 2 a.m. on YouTube, probably just something you kind of discovered at the time. And honestly, that's kind of the way I think a lot of people came to Eraserhead initially. It's just kind of something that, like the midnight movie, you just kind of wander in, like, what is this? Holy crap, kind of thing. It's a middle of the night type of movie. And I think you've described it perfectly here. It's just that trance-like state. It feels like it's sucking you into something really dark, like an abyss, and then it just shuts the door behind you. For me, the film is very reminiscent of an acid trip. But not like, the peak of an acid trip, as it's really starting to kick in, just the little sensory types of things that you hear and feel. But David Lynch is unlike anybody else in terms of how he can hypnotize you into an experience. And what you are describing here is how I felt about Inland Empire. Now, I was an adult, obviously, when I saw that film, but very similar experience where I just, I watched it, I turned off all the lights. It's a 3-hour movie, and it's just, you disappear into one door, which leads you to another and another and another door, and you've just completely lost your way. You forgot where you came from in that movie, and you just feel so lost. By the end of it, after it was over, I felt high. I almost felt like I couldn't drive for a little bit. I almost had to come down from the experience, and I can't say that about many films, so totally 100% get it, and I can see why that would be very, very scary at that time. The Blair Witch Project ruined me as a kid. I was actually pretty okay with horror movies at the time. I never let them affect me too much, but Blair Witch was just too much for me. The ending haunted me, and nothing happens. I suppose my imagination did most of the work, not to mention the fact that at the time I legit thought that the movie was real. Anyway, the only movie that came close to affecting me like that, again, was the Spanish found footage film Wreck. Very scary and entertaining as well. Yeah, Wreck is fun. Wreck is fun, but it's more like the last 20 minutes that I really love. But I don't consider it to be like a bone-chilling type of experience. It's more kind of like a thrill ride. When you're watching Wreck, the end of it is just like, oh my God, it's an adrenaline rush type of thing. The Blair Witch Project, though, is very much a slow burn type of experience. I adore the Blair Witch Project. And I reviewed it not last year, but maybe a couple years ago. And I honestly think that that's a really good review of mine, because I think I talk about really, truly, where does the horror come from in that particular film. Yes, a lot of it had to do with the marketing, as you said. The fact that so many people thought that it was real certainly helped. But even so, years later, I focus on it and, trying to understand why it still resonates. And I think it's a really powerful story about what it truly means to be swallowed up by the earth, where nobody knows where you are. Think about how many times that happens in life where, some teenager that everybody loved, prom queen or something like that, is just taking a walk in the mountains or something on a hike, and then she just disappears. And there's never an explanation, and we're always trying to find an explanation. And I think that movie, The Blair Witch Project, really hones in on that idea in a really interesting way. And the found footage film, it tends to be kind of skeletal thematically a lot of the time, but I think the Blair Witch Project really kind of has something really special about it. And the type of horror where there is really no villain, I think, is the most powerful in a certain way, because you realize just, that mortality is more the villain here. And when you are having to surrender yourself to the elements, what could be more scary than that? So this idea of there being a Blair Witch Project, but you never see it, to me just really means that there never really was one there to begin with, at least at this point in time. I think it's Heather's scream as well that really resonates with people. It's a fantastic scream. I think it might be one of the greatest screams in all of horror movies. At the very end of the movie, of course, it's just, that's coming from the gut. It feels just so real. And I love how in the movie Tar, they used the sound effect of her scream from the Blair Witch Project as Cate Blanchett is running through the woods. Such a fantastic little touch there. Because I have to be honest, I'm similar. I hear that scream echoing in my dreams sometimes, just in reality. It's very shrill and powerful. The Fox and the Hound. The bear fight was terrifying. That movie in general was too real and harsh for kids. Fox and the Hound is so underrated, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I always found The Fox and the Hound to be really adult, just because, it's about two friends and then they decide to separate. And the idea of the woman having to give up the fox, all of that stuff was really, it hit me hard as a kid. Like, most people are more afraid of Bambi. For me, it was a lot more Fox and the Hound that resonated with me, and it may have just been because that's more the movie I was exposed to at a certain time. But the bear, yes, is absolutely horrifying, and it's weird because that actually came up in my dreams maybe a couple years ago. I don't even remember the context of the dream. I think it was my brother and I, and this giant bear had come and terrorized the house that we grew up in, and it it was really, really scary. And I woke up the next morning and was like looking up pictures from Fox and the Hound. It's like, yeah, that's the same bear. It's huge. And obviously it's the camera angles and everything, but the red eyes, they really exaggerated the terror of that bear. And yeah, I absolutely love it. So totally agree. Batman and Robin, just the butt shots in the beginning make me cry. Come on, that's the best part of the movie. It's the most campy part of the movie. Yes, that either terrifies people or it makes people very happy. I think I'm kind of right in the middle. I love Batman and Robin, and I've been very honest about that for, I think, the majority of the time that I have been on YouTube. But no, when I was a kid, I didn't think about camp. I didn't think about cheekiness or anything like that. I took all of these movies very seriously. And so when I saw this, I don't know, I just thought it was funny. I love the butts. If it is a Joel Schumacher film and it involves superheroes and there are not rubber butts, it's like, why are we even here, Drag Me to Hell. Seeing that final scene on TV as I was flipping through channels as a kid does something to a motherfucker. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Drag Me to Hell, that's a Sam Raimi film. I love that movie. Absolutely love it. It's very campy, very over the top, and just really fun. I consider it more to be a horror-y than anything else. But the ending, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, please, just skip a couple minutes. But the ending is fantastic. I think why it's so fantastic, because you really like the main character. You really know her story. You care about her. You want her to succeed in the end. And she's so close by the end of it. And I mean, everything is just, it's about to be that happy ending. And they just brutally, mercilessly yank it from you, and she goes into hell. And it's so just jarring and abrupt, and it's just like I thought it was very interesting in the sense that I found myself laughing at it, but also kind of like horrified at the same time, which is exactly, I think, what they were going for. And yeah, that's an ending that I think always sticks with you. And I wish that movie were more popular with audiences. I was hoping it would kind of develop a cult following, and in a way it has, but I think we need to see more of it. The Shining, it was absolutely horrifying for me. Jack Nicholson truly gives a phenomenal performance that left me restless as a kid, and I had a little bit of fear of hotels when I was younger. Maybe I was too young to see it. Yeah, I mean, so talking about movies that scared me, The Shining is absolutely one of the very few to scare me in my teenage years. When I first saw the movie, I think I was 17, and yeah, it terrified me, and I think that is the last movie to really succeed in that way in a horror sense, so good on The Shining. But yeah, I don't know. I've talked about The Shining so much on here, and I've done it so many times on these videos, but I'll talk about it again, I guess. I've seen it in theaters a couple times, and actually I saw it recently in theaters again. And yeah, there's just something very unsettling about watching a Kubrick movie in theaters with other people. It's just because you can feel they don't know how to react a lot of the time, especially in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Talk about awkward. But in The Shining, it's just like you can feel everybody kind of holding their breath. What I appreciated about my audience is that there was a lot of laughter during this particular viewing, which is like, I always saw The Shining as having a lot of comedy in it. And the older I get, the more I see the comedy as being really special about it. I actually think that Jack Nicholson, I like his performance for sure. He's Jack Nicholson. He's fantastic. But I do kind of wish there was somebody else who had done that part. I think there are better actors who can kind of create this kind of self-aware, cheeky type of performance that has a comedy element to it while also being very dangerous and seething in a way where I feel like you could find the balance in a more interesting way, because I don't think that Nicholson fully lands, and that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, even in a lot of the comedy moments of it, they're just so unsettling at the same time. So it's very much, I see it as comedy, but a very, very haunting type of comedy. And I really think that humor in horror works really, really well. And we've talked about that a lot on this channel as well. But just the moment where Shelley Duvall's character goes up the stairs and she sees, the two men in the bedroom, and you know what I'm talking about. And that is just a laugh out loud moment for me, but it's such a chilling and bizarre moment at the same time. And I just love that Kubrick can, bring that mix of emotions to you where you're really not sure what you're supposed to feel. And I'm telling you, you can feel it from the audience almost always. But yeah, that is just a taste. I feel like I'm getting to know you guys better through these questions, and maybe you're getting to know me a little bit better as well. But that is the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to plug my website. As always, it is deepfocuslens.com. I'm an artist. I do commission portraits, and I sell prints of my work. If that is something that you're interested in, you can always go to the website below And if you have a question about a commission or a print, you can always email me. My email is in the description box below as well. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my patrons who are great. Guys, thank you so much for your support always, and welcome to the new members. If you are interested in supporting, the link for that is below, as well as the rest of my social media information. You can watch more videos here, and you can subscribe if you'd like. Catch you next time.